Mother relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
And I mean, we'll find out when if she's in the ring on March the 7th. But she talks about, her legacy and all that. You go out on your shield. So for me, I think it's a massive fight, and I think it's a better fight. I think it's a great fight. Why fight? I get why she wants to fight Katie Taylor, because she wants a payday, but I believe Sky are giving her the biggest payday to fight me, so that doesn't really make sense. And why fight Katie Taylor when you've lost to her before? Fight someone fresh, fight someone new.
Do you find it disrespectful to yourself?
No, I don't. I just look at it as in, she probably knows deep down she's going to lose, and I get it. I don't blame her. She doesn't want to fight me. But at the end of the day, call yourself world champion, then she'll fight anyone.
Because them fights are bigger. Lauren, I don't know. For me, I don't personally believe that Lauren brings anything bigger to the table. I think the mayor, I think she brings the whole American audience, and she's got a proven track record of being a great fighter and being in great fights. Katie Taylor is just an entity to herself. She's someone who alone can sell out stadiums and whatever. So for her to make them comments is wild, because I just believe that they're bigger fights. That's why I was chasing them. She could have been chasing Sandy and didn't. So,
I mean, Natasha's 100% right. Whether it's a fight with Michaela Mayer or a rematch with Katie Taylor, those would both be bigger engagements than unifying titles with Lauren Price. So if Lauren is offended, or whatever. Well, Michaela Mayer's buzzing right now after that fight with Sandy Ryan, a fight of the year candidate last year, and we know that Natasha and Michaela, that fight would have some backstory, as the outcome was perceived as being quite controversial. Most people felt Michaela won, but Natasha got the decision, so a rematch would have been a bigger engagement if she could have had it. A rematch with Katie Taylor, not that I think one is necessary, because I don't, but if she was able to get it, Katie's the biggest name in women's boxing. It's really Katie and Amanda. Those are the two biggest names, and those are the fighters that are going to get you paid. Katie and Amanda. So naturally, Natasha Jonas would have wanted to run it back with Katie. I mean, stands to reason. Common sense. I imagine that the people at Sky and Boxer had to pay Natasha handsomely to take on this fight, this unification match with Lauren Price. It would have reflected poorly on them if they weren't able to get Lauren that fight, because they're both right there. They both box under the Boxer banner on the Sky Sports platform, so they did what they had to do to make it happen.
And now it looks to be happening.
What will serve as a launch pad for Lauren Price to enter into the next stratosphere. If she can beat Natasha in dominant fashion, look good doing it, sends a message to everybody else, everybody at or around this weight, whether it's Michaela Mayer or Sandy Ryan.
Looking at the fight, Lauren Price is a natural welterweight. She's not a smaller fighter who moved up in weight like Natasha Jonas or Michaela Mayer.
Physically gifted, fast, and strong. Her power is coming along. That was evident in her last fight, Bexy Matias, that ended in a highlight reel knockout.
Lauren's got the kind of speed that's hard to come by, the kind of speed that is hard to prepare for.
Natasha Jonas's only out is that she is a bigger puncher than anybody Lauren has fought so far. She's a bigger puncher than anybody Lauren's fought, and she is a more experienced and better boxer than anybody Lauren's fought so far.
This is a step up for Lauren.
Though being so fresh and young and naturally gifted, she is the logical choice in this fight. Lauren Price to win is the way to go. It's just that Natasha's only out. It's her experience and her power.
She is a hard puncher.
The caveat being that you have to be able to deliver that power, that just having power may not be enough, because you have to be able to land. And against somebody as fast on their feet, athletic and twitchy as Lauren Price, it may be difficult for Natasha to get those punches off.
Or to see Lauren's punches coming.
I don't think it's at all presumptuous to say that you could give Lauren Price very good odds against not just Natasha, but Michaela, Sandy, and any of the other somebodies at or around these weights. Would seem that Lauren Price is just as good in the paid ranks as she was in the amateurs. She's dangerous.
Carried over.
So I was actually a bit surprised when the fight was officially announced between her and Natasha Jonas, because I figured Natasha would prefer to fight Michaela again than Lauren, or she'd prefer to fight Katie Taylor again than Lauren. It's a dangerous fight, very dangerous for Natasha Jonas, but here we are.
I expect Lauren should win.
Been a fan of Natasha Jonas for a very long time, and I'm actually more a fan of Natasha than I am of Lauren, but wouldn't be of much use to anybody if I forecasted outcomes based on my own personal preferences. You ask me who I think is going to win this fight? I think Lauren is going to win this fight, and I think she may knock out Natasha Jonas. She might stop her and retire her.
PEDs and VADA testing back in Florida. There's been previous opponents of yours like Senna Egbeko talking about that they're basically suspicious of you as a clean fighter. What do you want to say to address all of that?
Benavidez viene hablando del antidoping, de las pruebas del VADA, todo lo que es su sospecha de que no estás peleando en una misma balanza, que digamos, y a la misma vez también Egbeko en algún momento especuló con que no estabas limpio. ¿Qué él tendrías para responderle a ese tipo de alegatos?
Simple, que entrenen fuerte y Simple, que entrenen fuerte y que no tengan miedo, no se preocupen. ¿Me entiendes? Eso es sencillo. Simplemente lo que pasa con ellos es que toda su vida están adaptados a boxear a pelear con boxeadores que no le exigen. Y cuando llega uno que verdaderamente le exige, pues la única excusa que tienen es esa, que si es doping, que si pasa esto, que si pasa lo otro. Igual que cuando tienen miedo también empiezan a sacar a buscar excusas de todos lados, como diríamos en Cuba, poniendo el parche de que caiga la botera. Pero en todo caso que pierdan, no, hay que hacerle prueba de doping, hay que hacerle prueba de esto. Si gano, no ganeo porque soy el mejor. O sea, son estrategias que ya están pasadas de moda, pero bueno, nosotros no tenemos excusa.
It's simple. I don't make excuses. My team doesn't make excuses. But fighters like that, they clearly do because they haven't fought against anybody that's really at their level. And when they do end up about to face someone at their level, then they start to say things like that oh, the doping this or something else that's like beyond the pale. And then because it's a no-lose situation for them, where if they lose, they say, oh, it's doping this, doping that. If they won, oh, I was just the better fighter. So I would just tell them, train as hard as you can, train strong, because that's all you're gonna be able to do against me. And in the end, the better fighter is gonna win.
To be completely honest with you, I don't think David Morrell is a clean fighter, but I don't think David Benavidez is a clean fighter either. And in a situation where both guys might be on something, then why is one complaining about anti-doping testing more than the other? Because he's more nervous than the other, more apprehensive than the other.
David Benavidez didn't hire Angel Heredia as a strength and conditioning coach for no reason. We all know Angel's past.
And I have no doubt that he's up to his old tricks, which is why David hired him. Though if they're piping up about anti-doping testing, it's because they don't want to face another fighter like themselves that might be on the sauce, on the gear. And that's what all of this is about.
I believe that David Benavidez, because he has a lot more fights and a lot more experience than David Morrell, is the betting favorite going in.
If he were to win, this fight is intended to be a segue to face the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol for undisputed at light heavyweight. But I'm of the opinion that David Benavidez is not going to stick around.
Based on some recent comments that he made about another fight with another fighter that he's eyeing.
Get a whiff of this. David Benavidez eyes a clash with Zurdo Ramirez, the biggest fight in cruiserweight history.
People wonder why I keep saying he's not going to fight the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol.
David Benavidez is open to moving up to cruiserweight to take on Zurdo Ramirez. Benavidez is preparing to face David Morrell Jr. in his next fight at light heavyweight. They face off on February 1st in a battle of two unbeaten fighters. Benavidez is coming off a win over Alexander Vajdik, the only fight that he had last year, in a WBC interim light heavyweight clash. He defeated Vajdik via a unanimous decision, but the performance was criticized after he failed to stop his man, getting hit more than usual. It was Benavidez' first bout at the weight, while he later disclosed suffering a hand injury. During the fight, Morrell became the WBA interim light heavyweight champion by beating Radovanje Kalajdzic. He didn't look good in that fight either, at least not towards the end, in his first bout at the weight. The winner of Benavidez versus Morrell puts themselves in a position to fight for the undisputed light heavyweight championship that takes place between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol that same month. But Benavidez also has a backup plan to target a title in another weight class against Ramirez if there is a third fight with Beterbiev and Bivol. The latter is the WBO and WBA cruiserweight champion. He defeated Chris Smith in his last fight to unify the division. Ramirez only has one loss on his record, losing to Bivol via a unanimous decision. Benavidez was excited about this matchup. That is definitely a fight that we're eyeing, and if we could get that fight tomorrow, we'd go and have that fight tomorrow.
People wonder why I keep saying he's not going to fight the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol.
As the fight date approaches for David Benavidez versus David Morrell, this is what you're hearing from David Benavidez, a potential detour to the cruiserweight division when you have the opportunity to fight for undisputed right there.
Coincidence? I think not.
That is definitely a fight that we're eyeing, and if we could get that fight tomorrow, we'd go and have that fight tomorrow. I know Zurdo Ramirez really well, and I'm actually proud of him too, because he's the unified champion at cruiserweight. He won 2 titles, he accomplished a lot. I've known him for a long time, so it makes me really proud to be his friend and work with him. So I feel like at the end of the day, this could possibly be one of the biggest fights in cruiserweight history, you know? 2 Mexicans going at it. It'd definitely be a great fight, Benavidez said.
2 things can be true at the same time. This is a good fight. I don't mind it.
Benavidez versus Ramirez as a fight would garner more American attention than the cruiserweight division usually gets, because usually it's a division dominated by Europeans and Eastern Europeans, not so much Americans.
Or Mexicans.
Case in point, Zurdo Ramirez is the first Mexican national to win a title in the cruiserweight division. It's never happened before that.
Now David wants to fight him.
David Benavidez, who also addressed the increasing number of boxing matches ending up in Saudi, the kingdom has become the home of major boxing, having recently put on some of the biggest fights. They made Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. They made the undisputed heavyweight championship, the first since 1999. They also held the rematch. The same can be said for the undisputed bouts between Beterbiev and Bivol at light heavyweight. Benavidez was asked about whether he would come to fight in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. While he praised the Saudis for giving fighters big paydays, he still considers himself a Vegas boxer.
You hear it.
That's crazy money, so I feel us boxers went through this time where we really weren't making a lot of money, so now the doors are open and we can make more money. I love what Turkey El Sheikh is doing, but we've still got to think about the United States. I want to be a Vegas fighter.
You hear it.
They've still got to come to Vegas. People are still going to be in the United States. Not everybody can go to Riyadh and go to all of those fights. I would be down to be on one of their cards, but we've got the United States that we need to take care of, Benavidez said.
You hear it.
Oh, because you're a Vegas fighter who's centered around the United States. That's more important than fighting the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol for undisputed.
Is that it?
These boxers often say things without thinking about them. The allure of fighting in Las Vegas, at least in previous eras of boxing, was because that's where the money was.
The best money in boxing was in Vegas. Now, the best money in boxing is in Saudi. But you don't want to go there.
Now, he's using Las Vegas and a U.S. audience as a crutch so that he doesn't have to go to Saudi and he doesn't have to fight the winner of that fight. That's what it is.
You hear it.
The only reason so many fighters in previous eras of boxing wanted to fight in Vegas was for the money. So if most of the money now is in Saudi and not Vegas, pack your bags.
He don't want to. What have I been telling you? He is not going to fight the winner of that fight.
I'm sure of it. I'm expecting him to come up with some kind of injury after the David Morrell fight if he actually wins. Something's gonna happen to where he don't fight the winner of that fight because he really doesn't want to. And that's why we're all of a sudden hearing more and more about a Zurdo Ramirez fight. The first mention of it came from his father.
That was weeks ago.
Now we're hearing it from David himself some weeks later. And while I don't mind a Zurdo Ramirez fight at cruiserweight between these two. Why weren't you this hard-pressed to face Zurdo Ramirez when you were both champions at the same weight at 168? This is one of the guys you didn't fight. When you had the WBC and he had the WBO, you weren't chomping at the bit to fight him.
What changed your mind?
You know, he moved up to light heavyweight some time and some fights ago, and I didn't see David Benavidez hard-pressed to face him then. But all of a sudden,
Now that you need an excuse, you need a reason to not fight the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, now you want to fight him.
I remember some months ago David Benavidez had a meeting with Oscar De La Hoya, and I wondered, what could they have talked about? What could they have discussed? And this!
Surely a fight with Zurdo Ramirez came up, as well as a potential move from the PBC over to Golden Boy. I've long maintained that I feel Oscar could do a better job with David Benavidez than the PBC has been doing.
They don't have anywhere near as much money as they used to, as many fight dates, as many resources, and if you're David Benavidez, now might be a good time to jump ship. After that David Morrell fight, since you have no intention of facing the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, where can you go?
Go to Golden Boy.
So many other fighters have already jumped ship. What makes you think that David won't? David's longtime manager or promoter, or whatever he is, Samson Lukowicz, already has one of his fighters fighting under the Golden Boy Promotions banner, Gabby Fundora.
And you don't think that that same Samson Lukowicz wouldn't funnel David Benavidez over there if things dry up at the PBC?
If they dry up, they've already dried up. They only did 5 shows last year. David only got to fight once.
He's not fighting the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol, I keep telling you.
A lot of the American fighters are American-based fighters, like David Benavidez, that have fought on Riyadh season shows. Things haven't gone well for them, whether you're talking about Deontay Wilder or Raymond Ford, Emma Williams.
Jared Anderson, you think he wants to end up like they ended up?
Now, Saudi Arabia has not just become the site for the biggest fights in boxing, but a proving ground, where the best fight the best in order to determine who the best fighters really are. And I don't think David wants no parts of that. He wants to maintain this illusion that he's some kind of a monster.
It's harder to do that when you're in there with real monsters.
So screenshot it, screen record it, and timestamp it. He is not fighting the winner of that fight. I guarantee it.